Hey everybody, this is Peter with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and I'm here today to show you something that we've recently received. We received the hardcover and the PDF version of Free League Publishing's Vaesen, the Nordic horror role-playing game. And I'm really excited about this one. It looks great, like all of their other products have. This one's a little bit different material. We've previously showed you the Alien role-playing game by Free League Publishing. It's a very heavy material, kind of glossy, silky smooth. This has a bit more of a texture to it, kind of an organic texture feel to it. And I really, really like it a lot. It doesn't weigh nearly as much. The book itself has almost as many pages. It's in like the 250 range. But the materials that they use to make the paper from, as well as the cover itself, makes for a lighter weight book. The look of everything actually kind of reminds me a little bit of the children's fantasy series, The Spiderwick Chronicles by Tony Diterlizzi and Holly Black. So that's kind of a nostalgic feel for me there. But we're going to take a little bit closer look at this, and we're going to do that by jumping onto the computer, pulling up the PDF. That way, again, you can see the text, you can see the art up close. And when I say art, there is some really fantastic works of art here in this book. As you can see, some nice, really full color pages to really sell you on the world. And I'm here for it. I am absolutely loving the art in this book, as well as the idea of the game itself. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. We'll pull the PDF up and I will show you what this game is all about.
Here we are. The cover of Vaesen starts to tell us a few things right away about the game. From the art, we can see that we are not going to be playing a medieval fantasy or epic fantasy role-playing game, nor are we going to be playing a post-apocalyptic game. Here on the cover, we see an adventurer wearing 19th century-ish clothing and wielding a revolver. We also see a horrific mythological-looking beast coming around a large boulder. From the title, we gather we are playing a horror role-playing game, as it says at the bottom, Nordic horror role-playing. And if I were to immediately want to compare this title with others I have read about or played, my mind leans to the Call of Cthulhu RPG. So after the cover, we have our table of contents. We have a title page, and then we have our table of contents. And the book itself is broken down into 10 sections, and then at the end it has one appendix background tables. But the chapters are introduction. We have your player character, skills, talents, conflict and injuries, the society and the headquarters, the mythic North and Uppsala, Vaesen, the mystery, the dance of dreams. So we're going to be spending the next little bit skimming through these sections to give you a feel for the game and its setting. So like I said, the first part here is the introduction. And the introduction tells us that Vaesen is a game where you'll be playing a character in a mythical version of Scandinavia. Your character is gifted with the sight, the ability to see Vaesen, the spirits of Scandinavian folklore. It is set in the early 19th century, and industrialization is on the rise, bringing with it the changing of the land the Vaesen call home. These spirits that were once sometimes helpful, or if not helpful, at least easily appeased, have grown angry and aggressive, and it is up to the characters to study the Vaesen and combat them wherever they run amok. There's also a short section explaining what a role-playing game is. So what are role-playing games? For those players who may not have played one before. After this brief explanation, there is more information about the game's setting. So the creatures and the sight. Player characters are part of a secret group known as the Society, which is made up of those rare individuals who have been gifted with the sight. And this society is located in the mythic North in an area known as Uppsala, where from here the members of the society venture out on mysterious and horrific adventures. There's more on these topics in their respective chapters of the book. And to get a good overview of what a game session can look like, I'm going to actually read for you a short section entitled The Form of the Game. And I'm going to go ahead and read that now. The Society's expeditions start from Uppsala with the purpose of solving a mystery that has come to your attention. A mystery usually lasts between 1 and 3 game sessions of 4 to 6 hours each. A typical session starts with you making preparations such as buying equipment, gaining knowledge at the library, and visiting friends and contacts. An invitation of some kind initiates the story. It tells of a place where a Vaesen seems to be present. The invitation could be a letter from someone asking for help or rumors of people going missing. On the way to this location, you have the opportunity to prepare by gaining a so-called advantage. You get a chance to describe and play your character in a short scene where you can acquire an item, gain an insight, or meet someone who can help you once you reach the location. And then upon arrival, you will investigate various places and talk to NPCs. These places have challenges and clues. Challenges can include aggressive people trying to stop you, strange enchantments, deadly tempest, or fairies leading you astray, while the clues tell you more about the Vaesen you are hunting and how to destroy or expel it. Vaesen is played in scenes, and this means that you play a situation, and when it ends, the Game Master cuts the scene and proceeds to the next one. You do not have to play every single thing that happens, only what you feel is important, and the Game Master decides when a scene starts and when it ends. Over the course of the gaming session, you gather information about the Vaesen haunting the place and how it is affecting the people living there. While the situation gradually deteriorates, hopefully you find enough information to perform the ritual necessary to expel the creature. Whether you succeed or not, you will finally return to your headquarters in Uppsala, where you can recover from your injuries and learn from your experiences. So that's the section called The Form of the Game, and it does, in a nutshell, kind of tell you how a mystery in this game unravels and how it is played. A lot of the game will be played simply by the players and the GM describing what they wish to do, but once the players decide to attempt something the GM determines is difficult for their character to do, it is time to start rolling some dice. And Vaesen is played with 6-sided dice, with 6s being a success. Sometimes a very easy thing, you just need to get 1 6 to succeed. A more difficult challenge might require 2 or 3 6s to succeed. And how many dice you roll, that will depend on your character, which is going to go ahead and lead us to the next section of the book, and that is your player character. All of the players in this game are playing as humans. You will each choose from one of 10 archetypes, and I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead to the part of the book that mentions the archetypes. There is the academic. I love the art for this. All the art for each of the archetypes is really fun. The doctor, a hunter, the occultist, an officer, he's a grizzly looking fella, a priest, the private detective, for all you Sherlock Holmes fans out there, the servant, a vagabond, or a writer. So those are your 10 archetypes that you as the players will choose from when building and creating your character. You will also need to choose an age, a name, a motivation, why it is you're tracking Vaesen, a trauma, which is how you gained the sight, and a dark secret, a problem that you yourself are ashamed of. Then all of the players will work together to decide their relationships with one another, because you're supposed to be playing members of a secret society who all know each other, and so you'll work together to create those relationships. And if you're having any trouble with that, you can actually go back to the area where it talks about archetypes, because on the right-hand side over here for each archetype, you will see that they have suggestions for some of these different things, and you can use those when filling out your character, or again, you can create your own ideas for your relationships or your dark secrets and those things. After you have chosen those things, each character, you will find out, is made up of 4 core attributes, and those are physique, precision, logic, and empathy. So of course, physique and precision are your physical attributes, and logic and empathy are your mental attributes. Each attribute is given a number between 2 and 5, showing your ability with that attribute, and each of those attributes correspond to one of 12 specific skills, of which each of those skills will be given a number between 0 and 5, showing you your ability with that skill. That leads us to the next chapter of the book, which is all about skills. So in this part of the book, when the GM decides it is time for dice to roll, it will be the player's ability number and the associated skill number, which will determine how many dice they roll to attempt a skill test. So I'm going to read a real quick section here on page 38 entitled Skill Tests. Skills will let you handle or endure difficult situations. If used successfully, there are 12 of them, each linked to a certain attribute. When using a skill, you start by adding the skill value and the attribute together. The sum of those two determine how many 6-sided dice you get to roll. Rolling a 6 counts as a success. You rarely need more than one success in order to pass a skill test. Also note that your player character is free to use any skill in the game, even if her skill value is 0. In that case, you simply roll the number of dice indicated by the relevant attribute. The same applies if you attempt something that is not covered by a specific skill. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to add that attribute skill with that attribute and the skill together and roll that many dice, with usually 1 6 being rolled being a success. But again, possibility of there being more difficult skill test where your GM may ask for 1, 2, or maybe even 3 6s to succeed. You may also end up adding other modifiers like a talent or advantage, which is talked about later as well in later chapters. If you end up failing a skill test, you may actually decide to push the roll. Again, kind of a push your luck mechanic in the game. Once per action, you can re-roll a test. But when you do, you automatically will take on a condition. A test that involves your physique or precision, if you push that, it will result in a physical condition. And a test that involves logic or empathy that is pushed will result in a mental condition. And these conditions will cause future test skills with those attributes and skills to be tougher, as you will actually be able to roll fewer dice because of those conditions. And as I mentioned, there is the next chapter talks about talents, which was one of those things that might cause you to modify your rolls a little bit further. And I'm just going to go ahead and read this page here, page 49, and then we'll skim through the talent section. In addition to your skills, you have certain tricks and traits that might come in handy. These are called talents, and they are described in this chapter. First, we list the talents that are specific to the various archetypes, then the general ones. A newly created player character has 1 talent chosen from among the 3 talents specific to her archetype. Over the course of the game, you will be able to purchase more of them by spending experience points. You may then choose any talent you want, including those from other archetypes. Some talents add bonuses to skill or fear tests, affecting the number of extra dice you get to roll. The effects of different talents are added to the total. So as we can skim through the next few pages, we'll see here that there are different talents, and again, some of these are specific to certain archetypes, as well as then there are more general ones here. So there's the academics talents listed here. There are 3 of them. The doctor's talents, 3 as well. Same for the hunter's talents, the occultists, and the officers, the priests, the private detectives, the servant's talents, the vagabond's talents, the writer's talents, and then the general ones. So real quickly, maybe you're a private detective. One of the talents that you have to choose from at the beginning of the game, you gain +2 vigilance when trying to interpret a situation you are not involved in. So that +2 would just mean that you're adding that many more 6-sided dice to your roll when using the skill vigilance. Each of these archetypes have something usually that will give you a +2 to a roll, or give you some kind of addition to one of your skills when you're using those in skill tests. And again, you're going to start off with one of these, And then throughout the game, using experience points that you gain, you will be able to purchase more of these talents for your character. Now, the next chapter is the big one. It's the big one that everyone, the player, the GM, everyone's going to need to really kind of get comfortable with, and that is the part of the book about conflict and injuries. Because when words aren't enough and passing a skill test just doesn't cut it in combat, combat ensues. This chapter walks us and the other players through the process of fighting Vaesen and or the villain of the mystery. Combat is broken down into rounds, and the area where you fight, which is broken into zones and distances. And the GM may decide to actually draw a map for that, draw it on a sheet or on a map of some kind, and each combatant is able to take 2 actions per turn in combat. You're able to take a fast action and a slow action, and those actions are listed on, or the typical actions are listed on page 60. So a slow action could be attacking somebody with a melee weapon if you're in close combat, or a ranged weapon in ranged combat. Maybe you're going in unarmed. That would be like a force skill. And all of these, again, all these actions correspond with one of the 12 skills that we have seen as we play through the game. And then again, there's fast actions. You're maybe just going to draw or swap a weapon, maybe stand up if you have fallen down, shout out a few words to some of those people around you, or close and open a door. So again, in combat, each person is going to get one, in each round, they're going to get 1 fast action and 1 slow action during combat. So let's see here. There are also rules for movement in the game. There are rules for close combat, ranged combat, dodging and parrying, holding and wrestling, fleeing and chasing, ambush and sneak attacking. There are a lot of rules in here, but they're all for you to discover on your own as you read through the book. But these are all going to be very important when it comes to the combat of the game. There's also rules here about injuries and how to heal those injuries. There's going to be, again, physical injuries and mental injuries, and possibly critical injuries that will play into the game as you go through the mystery itself. Now, the next few chapters after this one are really more for the GM to help them with explaining the society itself and the world that the players find themselves in. So there is the chapter here on the society and its headquarters, and this is going to break down a lot of different things, the hierarchy of the society, how things are organized, and the GM is really going to want to become comfortable with this so that they can really explain it to the players. And maybe they'll tell the players they want them to read this part of the book as well, just to kind of get their heads wrapped around the idea of the society that they are a part of. Besides the chapter on the society, there is a whole chapter on the location of where this game takes place, the Mythic North and Uppsala. Again, that's where the society's headquarters is located. And there's a really nice map in here of the Mythic North that you can show to the players, kind of getting them getting their minds wrapped around the location. It explains the life in the city and the surrounding cities in the area, and then technology of the time and all sorts of different things, detailing science and fairy tales. Here's a really nice map of Uppsala itself, where the headquarters is located. And again, just some more information on that. Now, the last chapter of the book is all about, well, we have the chapter on Vaesen, and in Vaesen, we're going to jump to page 125, because I don't want to give away, again, too much stuff about the game for players, but I do want to show off some of the really nice art that they have done for these different creatures. So each creature, as you can see here real quick, is going to have some stat blocks for using them in combat. But there's just some really interesting, very different art for the creatures in this game, and it has probably one of my favorite pieces of art for a giant ever, and we're going to show that one here in just a second. But there's fairies, there's ghosts, and then here's my favorite giant. I love this giant. The ravens landing on his finger and on his head, and he's just, again, a part of the land. The markings, the rune type markings on his skin. I just really, really like this giant a lot. And it gives me a lot of ideas for the game itself. But lots of really cool art, lindworm and mermaids. I thought this was a very interesting looking mermaid for this game. And again, if you, as you can tell, very horror focused when it comes to these creatures, because that's the type of game that this is supposed to be. The sea serpent, love it, big fan of that. And they do talk a little bit in the game about if you want to place this game in maybe a different part of the world, maybe a part of the world that you're more knowledgeable of. And if you want to, create creatures from your area, maybe you're from the United States and you want to use Bigfoot as one of your creatures, they have a section where they talk a little bit about the different creatures and other creatures that they kind of correspond with from around the world. So obviously, like the werewolf is all over the place. All around the world there are creatures like this, so they talk a little bit about that and ways that you can work those into your local area if you would rather do that. I like this will-o'-the-wisp. Most of the time I just see this as a bobbing light in some other games, but this one is just kind of this really fun fairy pirate looking creature with a lamp. I like that one as well. So that is the section on the Vaesen specifically, the ones that they have made up already for the game. And then here's a little section about, again, creating a Vaesen, creating your own Vaesen, and maybe pulling from other folklore from around the world. And then the very last chapter, which I'm not going to get into too much here, is the mystery. And it actually is going to tell you how to create and run a mystery in this game. Again, a mystery is another word for an adventure. It's the story that you're going to take the players through, and the GM is going to use this chapter in better understanding how to run the mystery from scene to scene, and maybe even some ideas on writing your own mysteries as well. And the very end of the book has a section not specifically about running. It's a mystery itself. It's called The Dance of Dreams. So I'm going to go ahead and get off of that page because we're not going to want to give anything away. But The Dance of Dreams is an introductory mystery that you can run your players and friends through, and it says that it should take approximately about 2 to 3 sessions to complete it. So that is the majority of this book. Again, there are a couple things at the end, some printables that you can use to lay out your characters and other things, but that itself is Vaesen.
All right, everybody. Well, that was my overview of Vaesen, the Nordic horror role-playing game by Free League Publishing, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the sound of the game and you want to check it out. And if you do, you can head on over to freeleaguepublishing.com, check out more stuff about this game as well as all the other games that they're making. The One Ring 2nd Edition, the Alien games, Symbaroum, Morkborg, Tales from the Loop. They've got so many games that they're making and getting a lot of really good feedback on those games as well. So definitely check those out. And also check out our page, tabletopgamingguild.com, where you can hear about our podcast. You can check out our YouTube channel where we have all of our videos and reviews. We have playthroughs of games, all sorts of great stuff. So, and we'd like to hear more from you all, what it is you'd like to hear about from us. And we will try to follow those comments as well. So thank you so much. Give us a like, subscribe, maybe share it with your friends. And until we talk again, keep on playing games. you.